Thank you, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:34. Thank you, Margot, and thanks everyone for coming out. Welcome to our January 24th, 2023 regular Board of Selectmen's meeting. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on January 10th, 2023, and the special meeting held on January 17th, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting January 10th and the special meeting January 17th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is audience of citizens. Anyone? Jane?
I know that you have something going before the Board of Finance. Is that this that you've gone over and measured?
My hope for that is to get to a space today where we can at least present the applications to the Board of Finance. I don't know that we're going to get to any final decisions tonight, but I want to at least talk with them about with the applications that have been made and where we sit currently.
So you haven't made any final determinations on any of this?
You were at our last meeting and we did not. Anyone else?
I just wanted to inquire as to the status of the Economic Development Commissions. I've been attending like the Joint Commission as a resident, and EDC hasn't been present, and also their website hasn't been updated since I resigned, I think a couple years ago, and it looks like there hasn't been any meetings. And sitting in on this joint, the Joint Commission, like there's such great conversation going on, and it just would seem helpful. So I just was curious, like what is going on?
Yeah, they're meeting. They're struggling on occasion to get a quorum because some of their members are travel for their work. But I know they met last week. Immediately after the town meeting, I came down.
Yeah.
I suggested to a resident who had the same question last week about that, and I suggested that he was welcome to attend if he wanted to. They are meeting.
It's not posted on the website. It's not on the town website though.
I mean, give notice of the meetings.
Yeah, there's no notice.
Yeah, well then that would be something that we could take up, certainly point out. I'm grateful that you pointed it out, and I can talk to the town clerk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, because I definitely would attend a meeting.
certainly
and
are.
I didn't think it was
Yep.
going on.
Just like every other commission, they have to post when their meetings are coming, and they are posting, as far as I know. So if they're not, we'll make sure that they do.
The people that you're going to recommend for appointments, do any of them have to be endorsed by a town meeting?
Yes.
Approved by the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Endorsed. Yeah.
Is that all of them, or
No.
just planning and zoning? What about wetlands?
As far as I know, it is the Community Health Committee and the Planning and Zoning are the two that need to go to a town meeting. Anyone else?
Can you update us if you know about anything happening with the sale of Mount St. John?
Yeah, I can update with you that I have not heard from the applicant. We were speaking with them before Christmas on a relatively regular basis. Or not the applicant, but the people that were negotiating with the church. Haven't heard from them since before the holidays. I don't know where the negotiations stand. The last correspondence that I received from them was that they were in negotiations and that they wanted to work with the town once they completed those negotiations to go, with the assessor's office. So I don't have any status on it other than what I knew before the holidays, which was they're in negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that once the property gets sold, that Deep River's gonna be getting some tax revenue back.
Well, we've been taxing them since they closed the school. we're in court as to whether or not they need to pay those taxes. We have a lien on the property, so if they in fact do sell the property, then we will certainly obtain a good portion or a portion of what we're asking for.
Hopefully it'll be substantial.
It is what they owe us right now is a substantial sum of money, so, yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, what's the total on the ARPA monies that we have yet to just?
I think I can give you the ballpark. It's about $1 million and change. We had $1.3 million and change, and we spent $300,000, so it's $1 million and change, $1,019,000 or something like that.
I got the squeaky chair.
$1,304,900.
That's what was
That's
allotted
what
to the town.
that's what we were given. So
Right.
take 300,000 out of that. We're all set. Okay, hearing no other business from the audience or citizens, let's move on to item 4, appointments. We have 5 appointments for 4 different commissions. I'm not sure if you guys want to handle them all at once or individually. Either way works just fine.
Two individuals.
Yeah, individual's fine. I'll start off, I'll make a motion. Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission, Stuart Scott Cutler, term to expire 12/1/2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion for Community Health Committee, Jacqueline Calamari, term to expire 12/1/2024.
I'll second that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion for Planning and Zoning Commission, Brian Patrick Phillips in an alternate position, term to expire 12/1/2023, and Daniel Arthur Smith, another alternate position, term to expire 12/1/2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And Special Constable James V. Budney, term to expire 12/1/2023.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. As Jane pointed out in her questioning, Community Health and Planning and Zoning will put those on the next agenda for another town meeting. We can get them seated as soon as we can. The next item on the agenda is Richard Naggett, discussion of the Eagle.
You want to sit, Rich?
The wall stand. Well, something I've been talking to you three about for a good number of years. May 1923, that eagle on a rock down there was put in place. May of 2023, it's going to be 100 years old. What are we going to do?
Well, hopefully we have a nice big party.
Well, this is why I'm here.
Yep. Yeah, I think, well, you and I have been speaking about it
Yes,
for some
we have.
time, but we're going to, in fact, you've contacted a mason.
Yeah,
to
I
try
called
and-
him twice, and he has not gotten back to me, and I don't do
Okay.
strike threes. So if he
Okay.
doesn't call me back, we're gonna go somewhere else.
Find somewhere else, okay. That's
Maybe.
interesting, because he had expressed a lot of interest. in
Oh,
this.
yeah, yes, he did. I mean, you know.
Well, maybe he's on vacation.
Well, he's on vacation.
Okay.
No. I
Well,
mean,
we'll
this has been a sore thumb in my side for a long time, trying to get things done on the green and
Mhm.
stuff that you call people up and they don't even have the courtesy to call you back and tell you you're not interested or anything, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, we talked about maybe getting Eddie over there
Mhm.
to see about, but.
Yeah, well, let's see if this fellow, if we can get in touch with him.
Yeah.
As far as the celebration goes, I think we can have a small committee together to plan how we can advertise it. I think we could certainly get Deep River in the news with that. You know, maybe even a little national news about opening up a
Oh, well,
100-year-old
I
thing.
talked to you a couple of years ago, there was a place out in Ohio
Yep,
that they opened up a cornerstone after 65 years, and it was on Fox, it was on CNN, it was
Yep.
on all of our, I mean, this is gonna be 100 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm thinking, yeah, we definitely need to get a committee together, maybe the Historical Society.
Well, we definitely want to get some folks from the Historical
Yeah.
Society involved. I
Are you
mean,
looking to do something totally separate from Memorial Day?
Yes, yes, definitely. Everybody I talked to said that this has gotta be separate from Memorial Day.
oh, really? Because
Yeah.
it was dedicated on Memorial Day 100 years ago, wasn't it?
It was dedicated on May 30th, 1923. I
Okay.
don't know if that was Memorial Day or not.
Yeah, well, we'll look that up, but,
This
I just
is,
thought maybe.
Yeah, no.
Big.
well, that's kind of what I was thinking. I think that, in my head, you know, and we'll certainly let the committee and let other folks determine that, but I kind of like the idea of making a big Memorial Day celebration regarding that. Maybe we open it up a little earlier than Memorial Day. Maybe we open it up in early May, and again, I'm thinking out loud
No, I
here.
agree
But
with you.
we open it up a little early, and then we have part of the Memorial Day celebration on the green is rededicating it, putting it back in place, you know. Because we did talk at our 75th anniversary, we have a bunch of suggestions and some items already.
Right, and we talked about, and I
contributed.
agree, yeah,
Yeah.
at the 75th, I think if we have enough of room in there when we open it up,
Yep.
that should go in there, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. You're gonna be a big part of that committee. We'll get some folks from the Historical Society and any other.
Who's gonna lead the committee? Which one of you gentlemen want to put your hand up?
No, I was.
I thought you were.
I thought
No,
you
no,
were.
No. I'll be on the committee, but this is a town thing. It's
Yeah.
not a veterans thing, it's,
No, that's right. That's right. And
This
that's
is
why
a
we get
town thing.
Historical Society, and we'll ask for some volunteers from the community.
Mm-hmm.
And if we, you know, half a dozen folks, I think, could put this together pretty well, so.
now I'm being very, very optimistic about what's in there. I was out in Pennsylvania for my ship's reunion in Pittsburgh the end of August. And I went to the Sailors and Soldiers Museum for Allegheny County. In 1908, they dedicated the cornerstone. In 2008, they opened it up. It was in a copper box. And all they found,
Empty box.
no,
It
No.
disintegrated?
it was like a big mud cake.
It just disintegrated?
Yes,
Wow.
I've got a picture if you want
Wow.
to see.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why they turned my cell phone off.
Interesting.
Well, hopefully they.
Yeah, well, let's
hopefully
hope
they didn't
that
do
that's
it
not the
in
case
a copper
here.
box here, yeah, exactly.
You know, I've seen and, you know, I've got.
I showed it to Angus.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Just like a pile of mud.
Yeah.
yep.
And this was basically, from what I understand, the same thing that's in there. It was inside of a copper box. They had a little small, probably a 6-inch American flag. 2/3 of the American flag was just disintegrated.
Do we have any history as to what it's made of? What should we expect?
Jonathan Kastner
Yep.
and Rhonda Forstall put together a little book that what's in there. And from what I understand, there's a copper box,
Oh, boy.
New England era,
New
New
Era.
Era,
New Era,
and
yeah.
all the people that donated for that
The eagle.
eagle. The eagle was, from what I understand, was made in Bridgeport. The rock was done in Middletown. Okay? And it was, like I said, May 30th, 1923. And one of the things I definitely, we want to get moving on this is because I've got a lot of ideas, but like I said, this is going to be a committee thing. Do we want to put another bronze plaque up there that says rededicated in May of 2023? Because if we're going to do this, when we had the bronze plaque made for the green, for the granite blocks, that took us like 2 months to get that. So if we're going to do something, you know, we gotta get moving.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about replacing it. In the back of my mind, it was maybe adding another smaller plaque. Or
Yeah, I mean, if we do it, if we do
just
it on the
something
ground.
very
or,
small,
you
yeah.
know, it-
Yeah,
Just a quick search, it does appear that May 30th was Memorial Day.
It was Memorial Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
But I
a
mean,
quick search.
Memorial Day is about honoring the veterans who are no longer with us. You know, Eagle on a Rock, everybody I talked to, we're 100%. We should be separate.
Well, let's have a further, let's
Yeah.
continue that
That's
conversation.
why we need to
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
committee
Let's
together.
continue that conversation. All right.
So who's gonna head the committee?
We'll see what happens.
Let's
We'll flip a coin after.
let that
We
committee,
don't know, raise your hand.
We'll draw sticks afterwards.
let's form the committee and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
You know, I imagine we'll all be involved
Oh,
in
yeah,
some
absolutely.
aspect or another.
Yep.
yeah. And like I said, if this Mason I had doesn't call me back, I don't do strike threes.
Yep,
You know, and all the masons that I've called in this area, I try to keep as much work here as possible. And so we might have to go outside the box. I might have to look
See what
for
happens.
a mason in the Valley Courier or something, and, you know, or maybe like Angus suggested, maybe get Eddie Fields over there and see if he has any idea of opening this up. And hopefully it won't be a big block of mush.
yeah.
I'm being very, very optimistic.
Yeah, fingers
And,
crossed.
and one of the things that Angus mentioned, that the stuff that we put back in there, that the committee decides has to go back in there, it's gonna have to be in a sealed box.
Oh, yeah.
Not copper.
Yeah.
Not copper, it's gonna, and Angus.
Well, we did some research on that already. There's
Yeah.
PVC, they make in PVC boxes
PVC,
right now.
you
yeah.
can, PVC box, which you can cold weld, it doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
have to be hot welded,
Yeah.
you
Excellent.
know, so, yeah. But,
It'll happen.
It
Okay.
will happen.
It'll happen.
Yeah. And like I said, I think this is gonna be national news. You know, how often do you open up a time capsule that's 100 years old?
Well, let's make sure we get Aaron the byline on it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Please
Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you,
Keep in
Rich.
touch with me, and I'll keep in touch
Absolutely.
with you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you guys sleep on this,
Yeah.
you know?
Rich also reminded us we've got the cemetery.
Mason,
Winthrop Cemetery in March.
March 7th at 5 o'clock here in the town, yeah.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Rich.
gentlemen.
Thank you. The next item up is Municipal Ethics Commission, questions concerning expenditures. John had asked for a couple of minutes. I see that Joan is here as well, so.
We would like to rent,
You want to spin the camera to your face?
no, you guys look great. Much better than I would. We would like to rent a PO box so that we can have a PO box address on the complaint form. So that when people, if they can bring it into town hall if they want, or they can drop it into the mail. And we've learned that it's $150 a year for that, so we'd like to ask for that.
Yeah, that's great. I think when Joan and I spoke about that, it was $110 a month or something like that.
No, it's about $150 a year.
Yeah, that's what we learned subsequent to our meeting. So that's something that we can certainly do for you guys if that's the direction that you want to go.
Can I go get a post office box tomorrow and then just bring you the
Well,
receipt?
more than likely, you're going to need a check or something like
Well,
that.
I
so-
would be willing to
I
pay
think-
for it and then get reimbursed.
Yeah, I think that Kathy will probably call up there and make the arrangements that we need to do that. If we need someone to go down there, we'll give you a call and you can
Okay.
go down and do it, okay?
Yep.
And I think that, I was speaking with Luther after I got a phone call from an attorney. And it's important that this kind of dialogue, it's just great, but it really should come through the chair, or you guys should vote as to who's going to be the spokesman for you when you come to the selectmen or to hire an attorney or any of that kind of stuff. The chair should be the person who's communicating those
Well, I'm the
efforts.
co-chair, so.
That's great, but that's, unless it's voted upon, the chair, there has to be some order. It could be folks going helter-skelter about trying to make arrangements. But it's fine. We'll get a hold of the post office tomorrow. If we need someone to go down there, then we'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one other thing.
Yeah, I know.
We're at a point where we are discussing statutes and interpretation of statutes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we feel like we need legal counsel to make sure we're understanding the statutes correctly.
Yeah.
So we would like to request permission to hire an attorney or make some, whatever the arrangement would be with an attorney with that kind of expertise.
Yep. Well, again, I think the process in that would be, or the regular process would be for you to either put out a feeler, put out an advertisement that you're looking for them, send letters to attorneys that you have dealt with or that you hear about, or just call up an attorney and say that you'd like to employ them. But the town needs to have a contract with them for them to be able to give you any legal advice. They can't just dispense legal advice to a commission without having some sort of contract with the town. Now, I think Carrie called an attorney. I received a phone call Friday afternoon, or Friday evening actually, from an attorney that Carrie, one of your members, had.
Well, Carrie's the secretary, and
That's
Carrie
great.
was voted upon that Carrie was gonna handle it.
Perfect. I was just saying, Carrie had called Carrie. Carrie Olson called me and asked, what is she supposed to do? I said, well, I think you're supposed to send me a contract so we can
Can I
have
clarify?
her on file. Yeah?
What we were trying to do is we were trying to find out what the cost was. Do we need a retainer? Is there an hourly charge? We wanted to come to you with a package to say,
Yeah.
this is how much it's gonna cost.
Okay, that's not the message that Carrie left for Carrie, because Carrie
Carrie
said
just asked her to call her back, and
Yeah.
she never called her back, she called me instead.
she called me because she needs a contract before she can. Carrie asked for advice.
No, she asked for a phone call back.
Okay, we can bicker if we want to, but I can go get the phone and play the message if you want. The reality is, Carrie asked a question, Carrie Olson did the proper thing and called the first selectman's office to see what she should do. I asked her to send me a contract, I haven't seen that yet. So I don't know what communication has happened with you guys. I'm assuming that you want to enlist her.
No, we do not. We were just looking for a cost factor.
Okay.
So we will,
Well, that's fine, then I would suggest that you contact her and anybody else and say that you need to, what
We need to know
what
what
is
we
your
need for
contract
dollars.
going to be?
we
Yeah.
have no idea, is it gonna be $5,000, is it gonna be $10,000? Do we need a does she need whoever we hire, do they need a retainer? What's their hourly rate?
Yeah,
Is there-
that's gonna be, everybody's gonna be different, so.
Yeah, so
But
that's
we need
what
to-
we were looking for, that kind of information, so we could come to you informed and say,
Yeah,
this is who we'd like to hire, now what's our next step?
okay,
So we'll look into looking at
Okay.
an attorney and getting that information for you.
okay. Happy to help, in any way that we can.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to expend $150 or no? Are we all set?
No, that'll come through the,
Okay.
selectmen's budget. Okay. Is that it? Any other things you wanna ask? Okay. But yeah, you definitely should have an attorney. I'm assuming that you're getting, you're receiving complaints, and I would think you would wanna have someone that you could speak with as you need it, not, you know, yeah, so.
As necessary.
Yep. All right, the next item on the agenda is tax refunds from the tax collector. We have 2 refunds requested this week, or this month, totaling $4,016.64. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion for the tax refunds from the tax collector, 2 refunds in the amount of $4,016.64.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That brings us to the end, and I made a mistake, I think, because we don't have anything about ARPA on here. If you guys would like to further discuss ARPA before we get in front of Board of Finance, we could take a motion to add that to the agenda and continue that conversation. Or if you're comfortable where we are, then we can just go to the Board of Finance with what we have thus far.
I'm comfortable, I was looking for some more documentation from the fire
From the
department.
fire department, yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay,
And we're not making an official recommendation.
we're not
tonight,
making it
either.
official, no?
So that's, just
Okay.
have the discussion, instead of having it twice, we can have it
Okay,
once.
sounds good,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm good, I would like to see some documentation.
Yep,
Yep, sounds good. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn now.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. It's 6:59.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Deep River Board of Finance regular January 2023 meeting. First item on our agenda would be approval of the December 27th, 2022 meeting. Would anyone care to make a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Anyone wish to discuss anything on that? All right, we will, we set ourselves to do a few things in that meeting, and Angus will bring you up to date about the public meetings we've had, so when that time comes. Third item, audience of citizens.
Hi, I'm Catherine Russell, and I know we're going to be discussing, you will be discussing the ARPA funds. I understand there's not a recommendation yet, but they've been submitted. But I did have a few questions, and I think this is the time to do it, knowing that they pertain to that next item, a couple of items down on your agenda. I'm wondering what framework the Board of Finance and the Selectmen, but since it's coming out of the Board of Finance, the Board of Finance plans to use to make decisions on the ARPA funds. In order to make sure that it's fair and equitable, the whole process. My understanding from Angus at our conversation a couple of weeks ago was that because we're under $10 million, you don't have to strictly tie everything to COVID relief directly, and that's the latest ruling on that. But if we are planning on taking the standard allowance, that means that we have to they're allowed for anything that would be considered a provision of government services. So my question is, long-windedly, what is your framework going to be to evaluate whether or not each of these falls in the area of actually being traditionally provided as a government service? Or any other framework that you're going to be using? That's my question.
I do not think the Board of Finance has a framework, let's say we wish to disagree, other than knowing that it was about to come to us. We talk about it every meeting. We have not seen those recommendations or the rationale that the Selectmen have reached. So I'm going to ask for a waiver for a while to come up with a criteria to give you a good answer.
That'd be great. And I'll ask it again whenever we get to it. I'm also wondering when we bring it up to the town meeting, will the request be itemized or will it be going in as one lump sum?
Well, you're probably not asking the current person, and we're going to talk about it tonight, so I don't have all the information. Casual conversations with the Selectmen would indicate it's going itemized.
Yeah, I don't think we can, I would not want to put this lump sum into the town. I think each of these things warrants a discussion by the community.
Thank you very much.
Jean Samuels, I thought you had already okayed some of the,
Yeah.
and was one of those the $75,000 for music festivals?
Would you like me to answer that, Bonnie?
Sure.
Jane, you were part of the community who voted to authorize the $300,000 expenditure for the radio system for all of the emergency services. No other item has gone to the town hall or to the town meeting. So nothing else has been authorized. Except for the $75,000 went through the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, but has not gone to town meeting yet.
That's what I asked.
Yeah. And that's what the answer is.
But the question is it set then to go to the town meeting?
Yes, it
Or is that
is.
still open as part of this overall
The
discussion?
$300,000 has been approved at town meeting, the $75,000 has not.
But the other things above the double line have been passed by the Board of Finance.
No.
I guess it's just to answer the question, the Board of Finance, other than recommending the town we use monies for capital improvements last year, we've had a conversation amongst ourselves about a music festival, but the Board of Finance has sent nothing to the town. Yet. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to move to number 4, which is treasurer's report. Trump is not here, so the numbers will have to speak for themselves.
He did not indicate to me that there was anything out of the ordinary with this.
And it does not look like there should. January is our second largest tax collection month, so we should be fairly comfortable in the amount of cash we are collecting. When we go over the budget, you will see that tax collections are going very, very well. So, I see, and this was a form of question I would have put to Tommy. If you look at what, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth line item, 22 capital improvement borrow is $1,252,871.82. That is the borrowing that we made last fiscal year. I'm surprised there's not more money taken out of that, but to be determined.
Yeah, we haven't, all we've taken out of that thus far is the
Fire truck.
fire truck deposit.
Yeah, which we paid quite a bit on, didn't we? But
We should have taken, we should have also taken out the SCBA. No, they haven't purchased those yet for this year. Yep, yeah.
So anyhow, that is just a curiosity. I do not know. We borrowed a lot of money. We got a favorable rate, but it would make me feel comfortable if we put it to use.
No, it should, I think we're gonna see that start flying out of here pretty quickly with
Good hope.
the 2 trucks and stuff.
All right. With the treasurer's report behind us. Recommendations of selectmen, actions on recommendations, and certainly somewhere in your discussion, Angus, you will talk about ARPA, American Recovery Program Act. What's your current recommendations? Could you start by bringing folks up to date? We did have a public meeting last week, which is the reference I made to the minutes of the December 27th meeting. So get a lot of them there.
Yeah, we brought 3 items in front of the town last week, all of which were based on recommendations from you guys, and all were approved unanimously. I think the first was the additional $45,000 for the additional expenditures for the fire truck. The second was the creation of the capital, non-recurring capital fund, and the third was the $100,000 expenditure to accompany the $400,000 grant from the state regarding the improvements up at Platwood Park. Those were all approved with very little discussion. It was a very quick and I'd like to think successful meeting.
Would you comment on when you think, let's go to the $500,000 playground equipment. When do you think action will be taken? And somewhere in there, when do you think we will see playground equipment?
We are taking action. Remember, this particular grant is not for playground equipment. It is for a restroom, replacement of the existing restroom and pavilion.
Okay.
And action has already been taken on that. We're working with the town engineer to put together a plan that we can put in front of the state, so the state can say, that's exactly what we thought, go ahead. And we need to explain where they're going to go. You know, we're gonna move the restroom a little closer to the parking lot, and the gazebo, or the pavilion, will probably be just a little bit further towards the volleyball courts to try to expand the park area, the grass area. But that's already underway. The planning stages of that are already underway. I don't know, it's always hopeful, but who knows with supply chain, when that material will be available for us to break ground. But that's for the steep grant.
Yes.
We also have a grant from the state of Connecticut. I can't remember what that was called. From the State Bond Commission to replace the playground equipment in all of 3 parks.
That one's steep? I thought
That was not
steep
steep.
as well.
That was the State Bonding Commission. For lack, I think it's Urban Acts. That's the Urban Act grants. That I think that the school is already ready to make their order. We met last week over there, and they have some pretty neat equipment. It's gonna look pretty nice. That'll be a nice two very nice playgrounds over there. One for the younger kids, one for the older kids. And then the Parks and Recreation is still working on what equipment to purchase and what we need at the 2 parks.
I think there's a long lead time. Will my grandchildren see
There-
this in summer? Child, not having more grandchildren.
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know. Probably not at the beginning of the summer at this point, but hopefully by the end.
Excellent. Cool. All right, excellent. All right. Other items you'd like to,
Really, there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about financially what's going on, other than the ARPA. I think Joyce handed out the requests that we have, and I think it would be appropriate for us to introduce you to each of these. We have not taken action on any of them, but we can certainly speak to all of them. And rather than hit you with it as a recommendation, I think I think it would be appropriate for us to talk with you about each one of these. We can email out each letter of request, and I think that'd probably be appropriate at this point for you to be able to see what they are. And then when we are finished with our deliberations, we'll bring that to you, and hopefully we'll be done with that in a couple of weeks. If not, we'll certainly be done with that by the time of your next scheduled meeting.
let me clarify with the Board of Finance. I had indicated to the Board of Finance that you had reached your recommendations and it was time for our to participate. You are still in process.
Well, I thought we were going to be able to do that tonight, but we have not received yet back some of our requests for additional information from some of these larger requests. So we have not made any final decisions, although I think we're pretty close. Yeah, I think we're very close.
And Angus, all these requests came from people listed here, the departments listed here?
Yep. So unless you have any other questions at this point, we'll move forward with just going down the list, and I can give you a brief explanation, and Jim and Dwayne are welcome to pipe in whenever I misspeak. The first item is capital, and you see this has already been committed. That's a $300 one-time payment for the radio system that we were talking about before. That's for all of the emergency services. Tri-Town Youth Services asked for $48,000 over the next 3 years to pay for additional employees, and you'll see this. The town has also got a request for something like this for their staffing, for some of their counseling staffing. This is, well, in my opinion, this is a very good expenditure. They also requested similar amounts from Essex and Chester. Both Essex and Chester have agreed to that, contingent upon our agreeing as well.
Out of their ARPA funds?
Out of their ARPA funds.
What would be the plan in 3 years? Is that we would subsidize it?
At the end of 3 years, at the end of the 3 years, they will determine whether or not these positions are needed any longer. This really is directly related to COVID and the after effects and the social ramifications of
It'll still be needed in 3 years.
Yeah, I know. They're needed now, and we'll see that when we get to one of my requests. The Shoreline Soup Kitchen wants to purchase a refrigerator truck. They have asked all of the towns involved that they deliver foods to contribute $10,000 towards that purchase.
Do all the towns need to say yes to
No,
get the truck,
no, but all of the towns need to say yes for them to get the money that they need.
for the truck? So if any town withholds,
Then
It's a
they'll
shall.
have to do additional fundraising to come up with that. I think, I can tell you, the communities that I have spoken with, which is not all of the towns, have all agreed to that. Middlesex Health Center for Behavioral Health. This is a group that I don't know a whole heck of a lot about, other than what they write, but you
I can
do.
speak to it.
Yeah.
So the Old Shoreline Clinic, which just opened up with the Children's Behavioral Health Center, it's a specifically autism center that supports the entire child from 3 to 18. Children with autism, any behavioral health needs, any neurological, learning disabilities, developmental disabilities, and they provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral health services. So it's a full wraparound services, something this community, Middlesex County, has never seen before.
Yeah.
So they're
And
looking
they
for
actually-
funding to help support
they actually-
the equipment.
Already do treat quite a few members
Yes.
from Deep River.
My notes were 85 patients and over 1,000 hours they did last year
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
for our residents,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The Deep River Fire Department has requested considerable monies. This $218,000 is high. This was after, this number was put in before some cuts had been made to that request. So we'll review those. I think you'll see those when we send out the blank. But there are things like SCBA equipment, apparatus, breathing apparatus, gear, what do you call it, turnout gear, gear for, they need 10 new outfits or whatever of gear. And then there are some smaller items that add up to a pretty good chunk of money. The River COG, this is the Council of Governments that Deep River belongs to. It is basically, it's not a government, but it's a government agency that represents 19 towns, kind of our county, but it's not Middlesex County. The bulk of the communities are Middlesex County, but there are some from New London County as well. This Council of Governments, and I will take a minute to explain to you the distribution of ARPA monies. Nationally, each community was supposed to get a certain amount of money, and then each county was supposed to get a certain amount of money. Because Connecticut does not have county governments, the federal government determined that they would give all of the money, they would take all of the money that was going to go to be dispersed to counties and communities, figure out the ratio, and send all of the money to the individual communities. RiverCog has requested funds, 15% of what would have been the county funds. So I'm going to use not made up numbers, but not accurate numbers. We received $1,300,000 and change. Of that $1,300,000 and change, half of that was going to come to the community, and half of that was going to go to the county. Instead, we got all of it. So $650,000 would have gone to the county. The RiverCog has asked for 15% of that $650,000, or 15% of other communities, whatever their 50% would have been, to fund regional programs, regional projects. For Deep River, that adds up to $92,250. That money stays in our bank until they come up with a project that the region determines is appropriate. If one of that project happens to be something that affects Lyme, Old Lyme, East Haddam, Deep River will not contribute to that unless we determine that we want to, because it doesn't impact Deep River in any way. If one of those projects affects Westbrook, Deep River, and Killingworth, then they would ask for some of that money, up to $92,250. It's a commitment to the county, to the region, which is, I I think, appropriate for us to do. We're not committing specific funds to specific programs or projects until those projects come up. Once they do come up, the request will come to us and say, hey, you committed this money, this is a project that involves Deep River, it impacts Deep River. It's going to cost $20,000 for each community that's involved. So we'll be down to $95,250.
So you would have to authorize that for them?
Each expenditure, yep. The COG would. If we go to the community with this, if this goes through us and you, and the town votes to do it, that's the authorization for us to expend it. It would be the first selectman and the first selectman of all of the region to determine the projects and the expenditure.
Is this all in, so every town has to agree to this, or we could?
Every
agree
town
and
does not have to agree to it, but most towns have. Most towns that have already begun to start spending the money have agreed to it. And all of the towns agreed that they would put it in front of the town.
So whatever the project to be decided on would be decided on by COG?
By the river COG, yeah.
And not the town? The
Not
town
the
wouldn't
town,
say
yep.
it's
Because it's
gonna
a
benefit
regional.
our town this much, and
Yep.
so we're gonna vote for it.
Because they're regional projects, you know.
Is there anyone in Deep River actively part of the COG or?
Yeah, the
meetings,
first
or-
selectman from every town
Okay,
is represented. In fact, tomorrow morning we'll have a 3-hour meeting.
so you have a good sense of what they're working on?
Absolutely, yeah. Deep River Parks and Recreation, we've already spoken about this. This is the music festival that they would like to hold. That, in fact, was already brought in front of the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen and was voted to go to a town meeting. We just have not moved it to a town meeting yet. Deep River Social Services. This is something that I think that we need to have a full-time person over there. Right now, we have a part-time person. I don't think the hours are what we need. Our Parks and Rec office is right next door, and Carol has been helping. But we need to hire someone at least to fill the hours that are not being filled now by Rosie. And at the end of this time, we can determine whether Rosie is going to retire or whether we're going to hire someone.
Right now,
Keep
she's
someone
only
there.
8 hours a week, is that correct?
She's 16.
16.
Rosie
Yeah.
is 6.
No, she works Tuesday.
I think it's 2 half days.
Oh, okay.
9 to.
Yeah, but she also does some work that's not in the office. But yeah, it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. You're right. Thank you. So that's something that I think we really need to consider and really should do. Deep River Historical Society has requested $53,000 to fix an actively leaking roof. I think I'm speaking for the board when I say that we think this is an important expenditure. The history of the town is in that building, and we need to protect it if we can. Deep River Public Library has asked for $119,000. Some of these are for programs, some of this is for additional staffing, and some of this is for some infrastructure, like the circulation desk needs to be replaced, needs to be updated. This is one of the projects that we are still deliberating on. Pandemonium, the new shop up at the old factory by Exit 5, has asked for $60,000 to help with their construction of a couple of their buildings, as well as some paths and some public accessible historical walkways through the property. Again, that's one that we're still talking about. The Deep River Public Works. We have been lacking a wood chipper for as long as I've been around. And that is something that is on our capital improvement plan. It's a pretty good expenditure, but it is something that we need in mostly during emergencies, for sure, we end up renting a chipper. And in the end, this will pay for itself over a length of time. But it's, you know, if we have an emergency when we've got trees down and we need to get those trees out of the way, we end up spending way too much time putting large pieces of wood into the back of trucks when we could just be chipping it and disposing of it quicker and getting it out of the way quicker. I would like to say that that almost falls into public safety, but it certainly is a capital expenditure. Again, Deep River Public Works, $25,000 for a generator up at that building. We've been extremely lucky throughout time that without a generator up there. That's where we pump fuel for our vehicles during an emergency. If we don't have electricity, we can't pump the fuel. If we can't pump the fuel, we can't plow the roads. We can't get that. And that's also where our police and our fire trucks get their fuel. So I think that generator is a good expenditure.
We don't have a how have you been doing it over the last, since 1637?
I don't know.
Yeah.
With a crank.
Crank, I mean, yeah, something.
Yeah.
Well, for years, they didn't have a tank up there.
That's right. That's right. And then once they got the diesel tank, they brought in a small generator to operate that, which was not safe. And then we just put the gasoline tank up there a year ago, 2 years ago. So I think that's a good expenditure. That, frankly, the generator here at the town hall has worked out incredibly well. They're very important for us to have. That's one of the requests for the fire department, was a generator up at their Winthrop station, so they could keep that open as well. The Deep River Ambulance Association, they are in need of a new ambulance. To go along with some of Catherine's interests, Deep River Ambulance certainly worked above and beyond the call of duty during COVID. They need a new ambulance. We've spoken with them, spoken amongst ourselves a little bit, and at $140,000, the ambulance, while they have not yet been able to have their board make a commitment, as committed that they would, if we were able to supply $140,000, they would supply the rest of the money and be able to purchase that ambulance sooner rather than later. So, but they will have that commitment soon. The Deep River Police Department is in need of a new car, as you guys have noted, or you will note. We certainly have noted. We've talked about it for the last couple of years. The cars that we have are racking up some pretty significant maintenance bills. This car would eliminate a lot of that expenditure.
Angus, is that for an Explorer or a Tahoe?
That's for an Explorer.
Explorer?
Yeah.
That's for the state bid?
Yeah.
And that's to fully equip it with the cage, the cameras, and everything?
As far as I know, that is the cost for everything. The cameras will switch over from the car that we're replacing.
Okay.
The cage and all of that would come in with the car. The 66 is the total to do that. I'm not sure that, I think the car itself is coming in at something less, and then outfitting the car brings it up to 66. That's a held over price. We just, as you guys are aware, we are purchasing a car now. That's $66,000. These people are holding this car for us to authorize this purchase. If we decide not to, the next car will be in the vicinity of $75,000.
And the car that it's replacing, does that get used as a spare, or does that get auctioned off?
That will probably be offered to the police, to the fire department, to the emergency operations, or auctioned off. The last car that we replaced, we gave to sold to Essex to utilize for the animal control. The next request is Board of Selectmen, $35,000. I would like to, with the cost of energy escalating the way it has, as we were talking about earlier, I'd like to contribute $35,000 to go into the CHC coffers so that when people come in and ask for fuel assistance, we have some additional funds there. The CHC is in the process of changing their rules. They used to have a limit of $300, but with the folks that we've had to help thus far this year, $300 doesn't get you 100 gallons. It gets you 50 gallons. Most deliverers need a $100 minimum before they're going to come out. So I think this is pretty important for us to try to help out with the energy assistance. The next is a small business and nonprofit relief program. I'm working with a fellow who has helped Meriden, Old Lyme, and I think he's working in, I want to say East Haddam, but I'm not sure now, to set up a grant program for businesses that were in business during COVID, to apply for a grant for up to a certain amount, probably $10,000 to $15,000, to try to offer some relief for funds that they lost.
Would this include people who've already received funds through PPP or whatever?
That was a good question.
Last week too.
And it probably would, but that's something that we'll work out with the fellow who's planning the program. This is not something that, like this money here is not money that I would ask us to commit to this, because we don't have a proposal in front of us yet, but I'd like to set it aside for that purpose. The next item is a $50,000. It's a heritage and tourism corridor. This is very difficult for me to explain, but the program, the presentation will sell itself. So I will ask you guys to look at about a 20-25 minute presentation from the fellow who's proposing this. It basically is a map, booklets, video presentation or presentations for the community, but for visitors of the community, for the website, for YouTube, to introduce Deep River to people that may be visiting. Historical trail to go from you can follow the Ivory Trail from the landing up to Pandemonium, back to the piano factory, those kind of things. The glider history, the dams. Yeah, that was a nice one too. The Deep River, that powered Deep River for so long. Nobody really knows where it is or what's there, and there's a nice little tour offered that shows you places that you can access it and where you can see some of the remains of some of the dams, and not just remains, but the active dams that are still around. It's a wonderful presentation, and remember when you see it that it is just an outline. It is not a finished product, but it's fascinating. It was very, very good, I think, and it's well worth the money. The $50,000 is just the top end if we do choose to do all of it. If we choose to do just a portion of it, the cost will be less. But the total presentation was really impressive, and something that I think we should consider very strongly.
Do they work with the Historical Society as they build this out?
He will need a good portion, a lot of help and support from the Historical Society, and that's part of the presentation. And the last is an effort from the Economic Development Commission to grants to reimburse businesses or commercial properties for facade or landscape improvements along the main streets. And it would probably be grants of up to $5,000 or something to encourage folks to dress up the dress up their properties a little bit. And that brings us to a total of 1 million and change.
1 million change,
Yeah.
still have surplus?
No,
No,
that'll,
that's it.
that's,
So this is,
this
covers
is,
the
this is
1.3?
beyond.
1.3 and you
We
can
gave 3
subtract.
already.
if you
We
subtract the
already
first
spent
300.
3, yeah,
Ah, okay.
so.
Spent 3 on the radios already.
And that was a very quick summary of these programs.
So all these programs would be covered with the 1.3? Is that what you're saying, or not quite?
This, yes, the math on this, I don't have in front of me right now, but
Because we don't have final numbers.
we
on
don't
it.
have final numbers, right?
And I think the 2 or 3 that Angus mentioned that we're still in negotiations, not in negotiations, but discussions with, might bring things down also.
Yeah, it will. Just the 140 rather than 275 for the ambulance
That's a
will
big
leave us with $100,000 addition that we can use towards other programs.
I think when we,
Overflows of existing program. We have constantly been taken surprise by,
Yep.
everything seems to cost
Yep.
more.
So were there other requests that didn't make it to
No,
this?
this is
Because I
all
know
of
you'd
the
mentioned
All
that
of them.
This
there
is
were
all
more
of the
requests
requests.
than money, so.
Yes, yep. Right, if you add if you add this all up that's in front of you here,
It's more.
it will come in with more than we have.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
right, the original, everything counting the 300,000, I think came to 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah, that included the,
Ish,
yeah, yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
and then we got 1.3 something.
Right, and we've trimmed some of this, and we're continuing to try to trim some of it. In the end, just like our budgets, and this is, again, to Catherine's point, I don't think that we have the same interpretation of the final ruling, but the money that we spend from ARPA, we are directed to spend the same way that we spend our general budget. We have to go through the Board of Selectmen, through the Board of Finance, and then to the town. So our decisions are not final decisions anywhere along the way, other than to move it forward. If we come up with, when we go through this in a few weeks, and we trim that $135,000 from the ambulance, we trim another 30,000 from social services. We trim that stuff down so we get to where we're comfortable with and not over expending. Then we move it to the town, and then we sit in the town meeting. And I believe pretty strongly that we could go through some of these social questions, like Tri-Town Youth Services, Shoreline Soup Kitchen, Middlesex Health. We could put those in a bulk if we wanted to, because they're all kind of connected.
Yeah.
They're all similar, and I think in my opinion, they're no-brainers. Those are things that we should just go through. Some of these other ones, programs like Park and Recreation, or the Historical Society, or the library, might be something that the community wants to debate. Hopefully not, but might be. If the community wants to talk about it, they should be individual. People should have an opportunity to take each item and say yay or nay. It'll be up to us to decide how we do that, but that's what I think we should do. But again, back to my point, I got a little bit in the weeds there, but I think that we need to keep in mind, we are recommending this just the way we do our regular budget. We're going through it, we're doing our due diligence to learn as much as we can about it, and we're making a judgment of whether this is an appropriate expenditure, and then we send it to the town, and the town says yay or nay.
And the commitments need to be made by a date, and the expenditures need to be made by a date.
The commitments, this money needs to be committed by the end of 2024.
24, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be expended, but it needs to be committed.
Where does all the background on all of these things come so that the townspeople, when they're voting on it, have an education about what they're voting on?
I think that we will offer to anyone who is making a request the opportunity to be in front of the town and defend their request. We will do a more thorough job ourselves of explaining what's each project, each proposal. And you will get a better understanding of each of these programs because we will email out the individual requests to you.
So this list in front of us is the final list of requests?
This is the list of requests that we have received thus far.
Oh.
So you could get additional requests.
We could, we put a, you know, we did not put a hard, fast deadline. This is the end. We're not taking any more requests. If someone came in with something that was appropriate, well, it's not up to us to decide whether it's appropriate. We are not actively soliciting any further requests. If something comes in, we would consider it.
Because there was one group that wasn't here that I was surprised, was the estuary seniors.
Yep, they would probably, the estuary seniors would probably go to the River Cog.
Okay.
Because that's a regional
So they
program.
follow the same 19? Because I thought there were only 9 towns for that.
Yes, but whatever number of towns the estuary is, and I think you're right, I think that's 9, they would go to the River Cog for their request, not to individual communities.
But that goes back to what Agnes said earlier, if Old Lyme and East Hatters and it wasn't gonna benefit us, we would vote down on it.
Mhm.
But with the River Cog, with the estuary, which is the 9,
Mhm.
they would support our people, so we would move it forward.
Right, that's right.
I would assume, like the 200,000 for small business and nonprofit relief program and the 50,000, those would be later requests, once that money's approved, like that 50,000.
Those-
Then the businesses would come and make requests for
Yes.
$5,000.
Yes,
Okay.
we're working with someone now to establish guidelines. We will not be the judges of that we will hire an outside contractor to formulate the applications, to evaluate the applications, to ensure that the applicant adheres to all of the qualifications. We would confirm and approve the application form, but once that goes out to the businesses, I think we need to remove ourselves from that. None of us are really qualified for that. We should have someone.
The only question I just brought up now is, you said hire. So we're gonna hire
That would come out of that.
out of that 200,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thoughts, Board of Finance, anything else?
I have one more question. So, to Carmela's question, would you publish something in the newspaper or send out a newsletter to the townsfolk, sort of, so that they're not surprised at a town meeting, that they would have some heads up prior to voting on these things, or you may not have any thoughts on it yet, but.
My hope is that the reporter is no longer here, is very interested in this. He's been to some of our meetings, and we would put this in the newspaper with an article about what we're doing. If it didn't get an article status, then we would put a press release out. Of course, we would advertise. We'd like to have as much we always would like to have as much participation as we can.
Do you see this happening before your spring newsletter goes out, or your spring brochure?
Oh, yeah, no, the newsletter needs to go to press so much earlier than it actually is published. It would be something independent from that.
Could we put something on the web?
Absolutely, all of that will, yep. It'll be on everything that we already do,
Yep.
plus we try to utilize the press.
But I'm saying what the people are actually looking for.
Yeah, we certainly can, yeah.
You know, it would be cumbersome, it'd be a lot to put on, but to follow up what Jackie's asking.
No, I think once we get to finished numbers on each of these things, we would update this and put this on the website.
With the details.
With the
With the
details.
details,
Yeah,
that's
separate
what I'm
question,
asking.
yeah.
So at the town meeting, would the representatives from each of these groups be able to speak to the public?
That's the idea,
So
yeah.
that they will
They need
themselves
to be able to
represent themselves.
defend their application.
And do you know what the cost would be for the consultant, of that 200,000?
No, we're still working on that. He's putting it together. It's not as much as, I think it's probably 20,000.
This would be an enormous amount of decision-making at a town meeting
Yes, it will.
to select these things from, okay, we've just found out about this, we've just read about this, we know minimal knowledge about it. Now we have to make a decision on spending this amount of money. Would you expect it to be done in one town meeting?
I hope so. Similar to our budget. Our budget is bigger than this.
That's what we're talking about, Carmela, if we put something on the webpage.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't access the
Yeah.
webpage either.
What about a workshop where you invited the individual groups and invite the public. There's no vote, it's just informational.
Yep. That's fine.
I'm just a
All of that's-
thought, because to your point, I think people want to make an educated decision, but.
Absolutely, people want to make an educated decision. I think, by and large, folks come already with their minds made up. We need to give them as much information as we can before they come. But as I said earlier, I look at this meeting as very similar to our annual budget meeting, where we will get up, we will explain, we will take questions. Any folks that have specific questions about specific programs, we'll be able to ask them. Just like they do at our
Yeah,
budget.
but the difference is at a budget meeting, that money is tax money that's going for stuff people understand. You know, it's sand and plowing and heating the town hall and the school and so forth and so on. This is like a present. This is like extra money that suddenly has come into your lap, and now what are you going to do with this? And you want to put it to the best use possible. And I think people really need to understand what it's going to do for them, how it's going to benefit them, and what's the best way to spend that money. Yeah, I don't see how you can get this all done in one meeting, but.
Well, you might be right.
I will say my 2 cents, Carmela. I have found this very stressful.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous about
No,
it right
no,
now.
I really
No,
have.
it is.
And again, I'm gonna use the same line. We have a pie this big,
Mhm.
and we have a lot of people we have to feed. And it's coming down to us three to make a recommendation to this board to go upstairs to the town people. And I've found it very stressful,
Yeah.
because we aren't gonna make everybody happy. But we have to make as many people happy. And it's hard. You know, we're elected to make
Yeah.
these decisions,
Yeah.
but, you know, yes, we have a nice big Christmas present here, and there's gonna be someone that's gonna be
And
not
what's the
happy.
best way to spend this money? What's going to benefit the most people?
Correct.
Optimally, how do you spend all this money? It's a huge responsibility, I think.
I also think it's important to remember that from the beginning, just thinking about sort of how you split up the pie is between the social services, the capital, and the economic recovery. Is it important to say, these were our 3 goals to
Yeah.
begin with, and that's how we've broken this out.
Yep. I think you can look at different communities and see how they've spent the money differently. Some towns spent it strictly on fire trucks. Some folks spent it similar to how we're proposing to spend it, with a little bit for this, a little bit for that, a little bit for this. And some folks haven't spent it yet, just like some folks are right where we are, so.
Tony, let me follow up on you. Why is it stressful? Everything that's been asked for is funded. Why are you stressed out? We'll spend all the money on all the people have asked for. Why does that cause you stress?
Well, we aren't gonna, because there's a few things here that aren't gonna get what they've asked for. And so we're gonna take money from you and give it over to here. We're gonna take money from here and give it over to there. We are not giving.
We're not, yeah.
It's still a gift, though. It's more than they had before. So
Yeah.
no matter what but I think that's what's really important to remember.
I mean, I remember a year or so, or 2 years ago, when the pandemic was hitting, the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen were in kind of a panic. Are we gonna have enough money to run town?
Yep.
Because people weren't gonna be able to pay their taxes. We were very lucky as a town, in my opinion, that people were able to pay their taxes.
Yep.
And thus, when this money comes, it isn't being used for the hits that we all took. I mean, we all took hits, but it's more of a gift. And, it's been public knowledge, is if you feel you need money, come and ask for it. But it is a gift, and to Dwayne's point, it's, you want to give everything, you want to give what they want, but you can only give so much.
And I think what's important too is everything we spend on capital is money taxpayers are not spending on capital that needs to be bought at some point anyway.
That's exactly right.
But I'll say the same thing I said at the workshop there last week, that a couple of these programs want to hire help. And we're paying for it with free money. When that free money goes away, then what are we gonna do? We have to come up with that money out of our normal budget. So that's what I'm talking about, stress.
And
Okay.
that's my slight concern. Capital, seems to me it takes relief off of, but if you give people I could say this better if I had a week or so to work on it. But if you start giving people money to hire people, you have set up, see, I can work on this. You're setting up a request for 3 years to continue to pay.
That's my stressfulness,
Yeah.
but.
Which I'm not sure is wrong,
Right.
I'm just suggesting.
And you can plant the seed with those people that at the end of 3 years, the money's gonna go away, but they're not gonna hear that. You know,
Well-
because they got it for the 3 years.
I'm not suggesting the rest is wrong. I'm
No,
just
I
saying
know,
You're
I know.
setting up that
Yeah,
potential.
absolutely.
Correct. And so in 3 years, when the giving, the free monies runs out, and they come to the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, saying, we need to keep this program, which is a phenomenal program, but oh, by the way, we need $100,000. That's what scares me.
Yeah, what scares me is that we're gonna spend it, and somehow or another, we will have missed something, and we won't have money. You know, that's where it comes down to me, is like, okay, we've gotta make sure, you know, there's a lot of stress that goes along with this.
But everything that's on here, it's very good.
Yep, and now it's shared stress. And if you guys aren't stressing, that's great. But it's important, all of these requests are important. Some are more reflective of the community.
Right.
But they all benefit the
Have
community.
value.
They all have value for the community. And that's where the difficulty, that's where the stress comes in, is, okay, we need to make that judgment, and then we need to push that forward to the town. The town might look at it and say,
Yeah.
you know, that is absolutely wrong, you should not have cut that, we want to have this, and then that will be turned down, what we recommend, and we'll have to reconsider.
Yeah,
But
and
the
then-
town might also say,
Yep.
that's perfect, good job.
Can you break it into smaller bites? In other words?
I would like to do that. There are some of these that I would like to move very
Think of
quick.
the
I'd like
ones.
to move that top, that, you know, the youth services, the kitchen, Middlesex Health, the River Cog, and our social services. I'd like to move that now. I'd like to get that
Could you do
now.
that in the first meeting, so it's not so much at once? Because this is a lot, and then get those.
Yeah, we can. That's a
Just
good
thinking.
suggestion. And we can work on that in a couple of weeks. And if that's the way we want to move forward, we'll be ready. And I'll ask you guys to schedule a special meeting so we can move it that much faster.
Because you have till the end of
Yep.
24, so
Yep.
even if the money's still
You have
there,
to decide by next
No.
year.
rather than
we-
rushing it through.
Have
You
you
have to have
ever
it completed by the
prioritized
end
this
of the
list? Is that what that is, or it's just?
No, I would not want to call it prioritized. I would want to, in my opinion, those projects are projects that are very important to the community. They're all almost all of those are related to social services. And those are the ones that I think are the most, well, it does prioritize them. I believe that those are the ones that
Start
need.
with vital few.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking that energy assistance is like,
Yeah.
would be a top priority.
That's
because-
one of them, that's
It's
one of them that I'd
wintertime.
like to move.
Winter
yeah.
time. They
Right
need it
now.
now, they don't need it this summer.
Right.
Yeah. So that
I
to me
feel
is
the-
fine.
I feel the
with me.
police cars are important now because of the price fluctuation.
Yep, yep. Well, let's make that our agenda item for next week. And if you guys want to schedule a special meeting to do that, that's fine, just give us a shout, but you know, it's fine with me. And it's a good idea. You know, that, frankly, that's part of the, my own, has been my concern all along. I've been terrified that we're going to spend, you know, not terrified, that's not the right word. We worked really hard to make sure we got the final judgment before we moved forward with how we're going to spend the money. We got that and we started moving forward. We got here, and I am, as I expressed earlier, I'm very concerned that we're going to spend money and then find out later on that there's other things that we could have done. And, you know, it's certainly not anywhere near the Schindler's List thing, but that's how it feels. You know, I do not want to end up somehow short. But I think that the items that we've talked about here tonight are something that we could separate. They will take less debate, and it will expedite those programs if we in fact get to a consensus amongst us that's how we want it, that these programs are what we want to move forward. So maybe you guys could schedule a special meeting for immediately following our next Board of Selectmen's meeting, and we can have recommendations of those particular programs to move forward. You guys can make a decision at that meeting, and we can move it to a town meeting.
That's a great idea, I just have, sorry.
No,
Because
no.
if we do that, we have townspeople saying, okay, so how are you gonna spend the rest of the money before we approve this? So I'm wondering if these are our priorities, here's the other things we haven't decided on yet. Somehow frame that meeting so people aren't voting on 1/3 of the money and then wondering where the other 2/3 are. Because I think it's important to prioritize those and get them in front of a town meeting. I just would wanna make sure that it gets approved and people don't vote no because they wanna hear the whole project. Just food for thought as you work on it.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, I can tell you that Chester went through a lot of contentious meetings, moving things forward one at a time.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, here's the whole schmuck.
So they want town meeting project, a project per town meeting?
They would come up with a project, or a handful of projects. Say, this is ARPA. They would get it through, go through the machinations, get to the town meeting, and it was very, very rancorous. And a lot of them got voted down and had to go back and reconfigure, so. And that's just Chester. I haven't been paying attention to all of the communities, just, I was watching those.
It almost seemed like those 3 buckets to classify essential type of removals, those that can kind of fall in the middle, and those that could wait until the,
Yeah.
but to your point,
Yeah.
show the whole
package, but
picture.
say these are the essential ones we
Yeah.
need to approve.
Well, I think that's a fine idea. What I wouldn't want to classify them as essentials and non-essentials. I would classify them more as time sensitive.
Yeah.
All right, there is a conversation, the Board of Finance comes back after the next, yes is the answer, after. But when after? Immediately after your next meeting? Should we have a joint meeting somewhere? What is your thoughts? What I prefer not to do is have you folks still ironing out.
No, me too.
Next Tuesday, and we come in at 7:30. Would you like to do it a different night, a night that follows? Board of Finance, you should participate in what you want to do.
I think if we move forward in the framework that we've just discussed, that we would be ready for the time-sensitive applications or projects by the end of the meeting. I think, if you guys agree with that or not. We're certainly not taking a vote now.
No.
We're out of session, but that would be something that I would be comfortable that we're going to. All of these time-sensitive ones, I would suggest there was consensus among the Board of Selectmen to move them forward as they are. So I would be comfortable with you guys coming in at 7. I don't know what's going to be on the agenda, but 7:30 would be fine.
I would still like to know more about these
We will send you.
background information, nitty gritty stuff.
You will
Not
get-
just this as a presentation, that doesn't really help.
Carmela, this is you're going to get this in the email. And you can.
Open mouth?
Late night reading.
And you're welcome, and I hope that you read them all and ask as many questions as you can. They're all good. They are all thoughtful, well thought out,
And does everybody who wanted, well, that's a dumb question because they would have applied if they wanted. How do people who maybe don't know how to apply for this money, how would they do that? Maybe there are people who still have requests that didn't make a request.
Well, I think isn't that part of that 200,000 that you have in there for other people, businesses and whatnot?
well, that's part of it.
That's part of it,
I'm
right?
not sure what you mean by that. We did what we could.
I don't know, I'm just gonna take something arbitrarily.
Yeah.
The garden club, maybe
Yeah.
they would like to see $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever to do stuff to enhance the town, beautify the town, you know, put up benches someplace or put in more bulbs or plant trees or change the library lawn or something, but they've not made a request.
Well, they didn't make a request.
The funds, it's been
Did
public.
they all
certainly
know?
were
Did
aware.
people all
I
know?
cannot tell you ever that all 4,000 and change people that live in this town are aware of everything. I can only tell you that I do everything that I can to make sure that the news is out there.
And we've had these funds and the
It's a couple
program's
years, yeah.
been public for a long time now. It's not like this is something that's happened in the last 6 months.
No, I think everybody
it's-
knows that all the towns or all the cities have ARPA funds,
Well,
but
that's-
I don't know that everybody knows how they're gonna be distributed or how they're available for people to apply for.
Well, as I said,
There's only so far.
I did everything that I could, that I knew about or how to do to get that out there. The Pandemonium came and said, how can I get some of this money? The Deep River Historical Society said, how can I get some of this money? They came, they
So
read
if
something
they wanted it,
somewhere.
they came and asked.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's appropriate for me to go door to door saying, hey, do you want to make an application?
No,
for
you
this stuff,
shouldn't
know?
have to, Angus, I'm not saying that.
No, I know you're not, but,
We had the fire department come in, we had the library come in,
yeah,
explaining what they need their money for.
yeah.
Historical Society, Pandemonium, ambulance, then came to one meeting. I mean,
Yep.
most of the bigger number stuff, people have come before us to explain their wants and needs and whatnot.
Okay.
Yep. If you want, Tri-Town Youth Services is happy to come. But they gave a very good, you'll see, they have a very good synopsis of what that money is going to be expended for. Same thing with the soup kitchen, it's just a page, and it's a very simple request. Middlesex Health gives us some good data. The fire department gave us basically a list, and that's why we had them come in to explain some of that. River Cog is it's a good letter. It's a letter of explanation as to what the money is for, and basically what I told you. So, yeah, I like the idea of expediting the time-sensitive ones. That's been part of my stress is that now is the time to have additional funds. Really, but that energy assistance, they are already doing that. This will just supplement it. They have money in there now and they are expending it. This will help.
Give them a cushion.
It'll give them a cushion, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Originally when I was thinking about that and watching Eversources, I was like, we should put $100,000 in there. But they've already got a good amount, and Deep River has been incredibly generous to them, so.
So, we are discussing about the Board of Finance coming back on February 7th at 7:30.
If you guys agree to that, if not, we'll put it off for a month, but I don't know.
We'll meet in 2 weeks and we'll meet right after you.
I don't have my
Or unless
calendar.
you're gonna have a-
It's
you
the
have a
4th,
special meeting?
it's the 14th, it's on Valentine's
Are
Day.
you having a special meeting?
14th.
No, we're having a regular meeting,
That's on the 14th.
yeah.
Then it'd be the
Valentine's
14th.
Day, bud, we'll be together.
14th.
The 14th is the second Tuesday, yeah.
We
Correct.
have a meeting on the 14th to discuss only ARPA, which will be, we will not discuss anything else. So Joyce will make it a special meeting with the Board of Finance to review the recommendations of the Board of Selectmen on the uses of ARPA. All right, at 7:30.
That sounds good. The reason that I'm thinking the 14th is because it gives us, the cameras will be here, and we can, it gives more publicity or
More
more
exposure.
information to the public, so.
Okay. Well, you don't meet every other week, you meet,
The 2nd and 4th.
Second and fourth Tuesdays.
got it, done, okay. All right. Do we need to do anything like make motions, or can we just tell Joyce to call the meeting? We all
So
aboard?
February 14th is a go?
Well, that's if you guys decide.
Yeah.
I'll have to cancel all our reservations, I guess.
Honey, I got some good news and bad news.
Me too, Carol.
No, and if you need to, you can come in by Zoom. We can Zoom you in. Carmela says she likes to watch my waving arms in Zooms. All right, it is done. All right, very good. Does anyone wish to, anyone Board of Finance work? Does anyone have any advice for the selectmen? Anything you don't like, you like, you okay? Any big picture items? Okay. Good. I like the 3 buckets. Could you use a better word than bucket? Bucket sounds very flattering.
Categories.
Categories.
Yeah, buckets
I like
work.
3 categories.
I like buckets.
I like categories. Buckets got a hole in it. All right. That brings us to a review of our monthly budget report. Okay. It is 8:30. Let's see if we can, there's a great temptation on my part to use this as an opportunity to discuss things which are better discussed in our workshop. So I will not take great time here. Unless anyone wishes to take more time, I will
Nope.
shoot through and see what we can do here. All right, let us glance. I'm going to start with expenses, and we'll then go back to revenues. All right. We are in the 7th month of the 12-month fiscal year, suggesting if we spend everything on a straight line basis, which we don't, but let's say we do, we would have spent 58% of our budget, leaving 42%. So that last column lends itself to percent less. My suggestion is let's glance at those percentages to see if we're getting close to 42 or below 42. And everything in the selectmen's budget seems relatively straight on. Last month, we asked Angus about engineering services, but they seem to be coming back into line. You've stopped hiring engineers, 13.9% is what you have left, so.
No, we haven't stopped hiring them.
We just haven't paid them.
Haven't paid them.
And that hiring you said to us is driven by work to be done at the capping of the,
The engineering services right now is focused on the transfer station and the landfill. Yeah.
and some night when we have a lull and things to talk about, we should probably bring everyone up to date on our obligation to cap that landfill. Matter of fact, while I said to bring everyone up to date, I think we all need a refresher on that obligation. So, and here I am again. When did we commit, or when were we ordered to cap that?
Quite a long time ago.
That's quite a long time ago. It is in the annual report, and we'll have a fresh annual report soon, is my hope. Elections. We have one more election ahead of us, at least the school election. We seem to have enough money left in the election total. I'm not sure that we do in the proper line items, but
I'm not either. And it's going to be it's going to be interesting. We have a new registrar who is not affiliated with any of the major parties.
And if you look at election, education, the new registrar does not seem to be running out to gain information.
No, that's kind of my concern, but
we shall not solve it here, other than we're getting tight on that line item. Let's look at town hall operations. Could you comment on how comfortable you are with your remaining funds on gas and oil?
Yes, I can.
Look at that crystal ball.
Yeah. I think right now, as you can see, we're not doing badly.
No, okay.
Where really my bigger concern is telephone and internet.
That's the other one I was going to have you comment on, yeah.
Definitely cold on that side.
Yeah.
We raised that number too last year, didn't we? The telephone? What are you paying for? A usage, or I assume that's what we pay for, right?
No, we changed our telephone system a couple of years ago.
Yes, I know that.
And it's hard for me to explain. I don't really understand it. It's not, we don't pay per phone call. You pay per phone and phone line, but it's very involved, and it actually runs through doesn't run through phone lines anymore. It runs through the internet. And I don't know exactly why that is, I need to research why the heck that's being spent down as quickly as it is, because I don't know the answer to it, other than,
Okay.
it's internet, and internet is,
Mysterious.
yeah.
I know a tiny portion. Do you remember? We ended up, the state gave us back the police line.
Oh, yeah, that's part of that, yep. The state, that's actually something that I'm working with our state representatives about. The state police have stopped funding they used to fund the police lines and the internets that go in there. They stopped that this year after our budget was done, so there was nothing we could do about it anyway. I didn't think it would have this much impact, and I'm not sure if that's all of it.
Do you
But
think that's what's
is-
driving it? Okay.
I don't know if that's what's driving it, but it's a piece of it.
I was not going to get into that level of detail until we got into budget workshops. When we get into the police items, there are lots of communication costs that we're incurring.
Oh, yeah.
In the police, which we'll deal with in the next.
There's a lot going on right now. The Police Accountability Act, we need to have an accreditation program that is, it's costing us.
And the cost of
considerable
all
money.
cameras, what's the word, Tucker? We don't deposit the cameras, but we deposit.
No, the cost for the server is
We're gonna
another
have to
one
put
that,
those into our-
we are a resident trooper town, and the state police, in my opinion, if this is a mandated program, and we are under the state police guidelines and guidance, then we should be able to utilize the state police server.
But I decided intentionally not to go into that, because we'll deal with that. in the budget.
And that's fine, yeah.
They are unknown costs to
Yep.
us. So you're relatively comfortable that.
I think
Okay.
I'm
We
pretty-
are in January, aren't we?
Yes, and we've been very fortunate
We've
thus
been
far.
very fortunate.
But it's, we're already past the, it doesn't much matter. It's not
Cold
gonna,
months.
we're past the astronomical cold day. It's technically, we're warming up.
I will,
Tell that to my oil
someday when
friends.
I'm shaking, I will
Yeah.
call you to
Yeah.
offer resistance.
But I don't know. The fuel, we knew going in was gonna be a question mark.
We raised it, but we raised like $20,000.
We raised it considerably, and we'll see if we raised it enough.
Did you switch the town hall to the electricity?
No, we actually are, we are locked in with Constellation. And
Oh,
we-
you are for the town hall?
And we are
Okay.
just renewing that now.
Okay.
All town buildings, you're locked in for all town electricity.
Yeah.
Certainly is good.
We are renewing that now. It's a substantial increase, but it's nowhere near, I think it's a substantial increase, but we're paying less than the
24
households
cents.
do, yeah.
I'm going to go past town clerk, because there's nothing interesting there, other than, I want you to glance at the town clerk collects fees, one of which is for dog licenses. They then send, and I do not know how much she has collected, but she is required to spend a substantial portion of what she collects to the state. Okay? And you can see that she collected and sent to the state more than what happened last year, so we appear to be over budget. She collects revenues, which we'll see on the revenue side. She doesn't get that minute, but in a moment, I'm going to show you the cost we pay for wandering dogs. This fee does not pay for it. You might be interested in that. All right. Let's see. Again, anyone, call out what you would like to call out. Tax collector is doing fine. In fact, so we'll just keep on going. Here it is. Special services, keeping you on the edge of your seat. If you look at special services, you will see two lines. Essex Dog Run Lease. If you go over there to the Essex transfer station. They have a dog run over there, which we and Chester participate in.
All 3 towns.
And we all lease a little part of it. And also there is a dog fund salary. There is, what do they call it, dog wardens? We all
Animal
pay-
control officer.
Animal control
They're
officer,
called.
and we can pay a part of that. So what should we say? We pay $15,000
For dogs.
to handle wandering dogs, and citizens, for the most part, pay for that. So just thought you might be interested. Fees, licenses for the dog do not pay for that cost.
Is it based on per dog that they pick up, or it's just a flat fee?
No, we pay them on an hourly basis.
But no, it's not true. And my fella in his younger days spent some time at the dog. He was a bit wild. Guess he takes after me. Was a little wild when he was younger. All us accountants were wild. Yes, at least the way we tell each other. Let's go, and it is. Let's go to planning and zoning. As everyone knows, we have a contractor to provide our planning, and Angus is very happy with them. And they budget that 32, what is left. I think we're fine with that number. They should be budgeting. The one I get a question from Angus, aren't we working on a plan of development? We put $15,000 in the budget, nothing yet? Or they
No,
just
they're
haven't
working
built
on it. I don't know, that probably is going to be a flat expenditure.
So they will give you a bill periodically? Okay, all right, that makes sense. Just didn't see anything there.
No, that's, yeah, there has been, they haven't billed us for that yet. They're working on it. We've been meeting for 4 or 5 months now.
And that will be a cost next year? This will?
Oh, yeah, this
we'll
is a
have
2-year
couple
project.
2 years. Okay.
You'll see when you get to the workshops.
Okay, cool. All right, again, folks, Paul, anything out? As you can see, building inspector, there must be requirements that he gets certain reference materials every year.
Yes, there is.
And, because it is a fairly large cost he incurs, and he's close.
And he's over.
Inland wetlands, our inland wetland agent periodically puts in salary requests. It's always a mystery. Anyhow, that part-time salary there, in our workshops, I'd sort of like to review what we pay salary people to make sure there is a consistency. It appears here that there's an inconsistency, but we'll deal with that. Police protection, and I wrote down here phone, which is what Joyce said.
Can we go back up to, before you get there?
Sure.
Is the pension plan, is that paid, because there's an awful lot left there? I mean, very little's been expended, if I'm reading this correctly. Under
Oh, we
employee
just-
benefits? Employee benefits, it's the third one
Employee
down.
benefits, yeah.
I mean, you've only spent $6,000.
Yeah, no, that goes out in large
Okay,
payments.
Just hasn't been made, yes.
okay.
And to your point, maybe to your point, we have 2 pension plans. There are not many, but a handful of folks who have been with us for quite a while who have defined benefits. And we guarantee that they would be paid some percentage of their salary. We switched many years ago, I can't do better than that, to a 401 type thing where we would contribute, I forget how much we contribute to matching their salary. They would put in so much and we would put in so much, which takes our long-term obligations away from us all. But it's still a substantial number.
It is, and if I'm not mistaken, that will continue to grow as our members retire. Because we don't have as
Oh, I
much
know.
money in there.
Yes, and it is. Okay. I'm going to go down. Fire department, glance at fire department, you will see that their vehicles, maintenance, well, they're doing okay, it's getting tight. And their training budget is over. We had a discussion about this. It doesn't seem right that their training budget has gone over. But
Where are you?
on fire department, they have gone over on their training. We're only 6-7 months into the year.
Yeah, we talked about that
Last month.
last time we looked, and I think that is probably something that is not quite correct, but also it could be because they've got a lot of new members. So they may be sending them to some schools, I'm not sure.
Were they asking us to increase or be aware they're going to overspend it any?
No. I haven't heard from them about that.
So we're with them, is it next week we're with them? I'm not
Yep.
sure I will bring
Yep.
it up, okay, cool.
But can we just jump back for 1 second? I just
Sure.
would like one
Absolutely.
comment. On the police department, police protection,
Yes,
you look at the vehicle maintenance,
yes,
we're over budget.
yes, we should, every month, we should
So
follow that.
that's a reason why we need more new police cars.
Yeah,
Correct.
yes,
Right?
that's
Just
right.
wanted to-
That's right, and
And only in
remember,
January, we still
we're over
have-
budget in January.
Right.
And remember, it is important for us to know that we're over budget in that line item. And it could be, we could be taken by surprise, there could be more expenditures. We are allowing them to over expend in that line item with our awareness, so it should be reflected on it.
That's for mechanical repairs too, not just oil changes and stuff like that?
No, that is mechanical repairs, yeah.
Okay.
How about the insurance?
That's some pricey ones.
Were they in the accident, was that in this line?
No.
One of the cars wasn't in
No.
this line, we put that insurance?
Well, the deductible probably would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't think so. And just for conversation, notice there is the last line in police, funded special police services. Every year we put in 30. It's a truly arbitrary number. That is for our constables, and I guess our resident state trooper as well, who, if there is a construction site, they will stay in there, right? And they are paid, I forget how much they are paid. But we bill those dollars out to whoever requests the service. Over on the revenue side, you will see those dollars coming in on the revenue side. We make money. So we said 30, we spend more. We budget 40 and we get more. I think there is approximately, to date, we have collected about $71,000. Now, it works. I hope somebody looks at that periodically, that makes sure that math. But we over-collect when a constable's standing there, but he's using the town car. He's using the town maintenance on the car. He's using the town gasoline on the car. He is earning Social Security paid for the town. He is earning pensions which are paid for by the town. So it looks like we're making money, but I don't know how to check. I don't know how to.
No, we're not losing money,
We're not losing money. Let's
but
put it
we're
in
not,
negative.
let's not say it, we're not.
Do they bill the contractors if they're requested with a cruiser, or it's just standard they take a cruiser?
I'm not sure I understand. We bill them if a cruiser is on the site.
Okay, in addition to
One of our policemen are there. Frankly, I think we bill them if someone from Essex or Chester has to come in, because we're paying that too.
Correct. And our fellows sometimes I see in Essex and
Yes.
various places.
Yeah.
Let's stop at the highway department. We seem to be doing okay. Certainly we've had no overtime for the town crew, at least for snow, so they seem to be fine. And the equipment
Jinx.
maintenance seems to be holding out as well.
He just jinked it.
Okay, let's have an Angus chat about tree removal. You have exceeded your budget by substantial, and I assume you will exceed
No,
that
it's
even more?
not exceeded. It is
So?
simply a
My statement was based on a budget of 40 and spent 42.
I understand what your statement is, and my statement is based on the fact that we have not spent over that there was money. A bill got paid out of that was not from, shouldn't have been from.
Oh, it's a miscalculation. Excellent, okay. All right, I assume if a tree comes down, you gotta do what you gotta do. And you'll notice we put a contingency for those new folks in highway department to handle all these potential uncertainties, and that seems to be there as well to catch any of these things. Again, anyone catch anything? So say. I guess, should we deal with the municipal library in budget workshops?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hold people in suspense. All right, Parks and Rec. Let's comment because of the magnitude of the over expenditure. Maintenance on all facilities in Parks and Recs, we were over by almost $15,000. We chatted about it last month. That is, Angus, that is the growth in the pond, or is that the ball field?
No, that's a number of different things. Most of that is the ball field.
Most of the ball field?
Yeah.
So as we move into summer, will we be expecting that line to continue to grow over?
No, I think you will see some of that come out. Again, I don't think that that's all, that's accurate.
don't think that is
I don't
correct?
think that's an accurate representation.
Okay. All right, Fountain Hill, interest payments. There is a mistake, says Kathy, in her cryptic note to us on the redemption of debt. Curtin River Street Sewer Project, I'm not quite sure. There's a double payment at least in there, so do not think that we have overpaid our sewer bill there by that magnitude. So we'll trust them.
Sure hope not.
Elementary school, the elementary school is right on budget, 51%. Angus, remind us what's going on with elementary maintenance. We haven't spent most of it, but you are.
Yeah, we've got carpet coming in for the entranceway of the building.
And that will be expended soon. That's why
We have some painting to do. It'll be expended before June. Actually, it'll be expended as soon as school gets out.
Oh, as soon as school gets out.
Yeah.
All right. Regional School District 4 bills us on a monthly basis, so they will take their money. What happens there, I don't know.
Could I ask,
good.
do we know anything more? I think that you mentioned it last month that Regional 4 no longer has to give back to the towns their surplus.
Yeah, I have not gotten a definitive answer. That is in fact the position that they're taking, although I believe that they are going to reimburse us this year. And I don't have finished, I have not been told what their policy is going to be. I'm not sure that the board has voted on it yet. But my understanding is that right now what's in front of them is that this year we will get reimbursements as has been tradition. Next year they will establish a policy that says any surpluses stay in their budget and to be put towards the following year's budget.
So let me catch up. They have
This
closed
is-
their June 30 budget. If they have a surplus, they will give it back to us and we will receive it.
I want to make sure that I say it, but before I say everything that I say about this, I do not have a final decision.
Okay, that is a good answer. Okay. You're always, okay, done. If you glance at capital, you will notice that the fire department stations has spent $26,003 so far. That is for the garage
That's for the garage
doors.
doors,
Have they decided what they want to do with the glass?
No, we have not gotten a proposal on that yet.
Okay. And the board aware, while they put new doors on, I guess the glass on the doors was not thermal.
Right.
Right. And they wanted that corrected. We have not spent any other capital we budgeted yet. Most of that is probably due to seasonality, I guess, okay? Although I am intrigued that the fire department is not buying their breathing apparatus. Doesn't seem to need seasonality for that.
They are buying it, it's just getting it.
They haven't gotten it and we haven't gotten a bill to pay. All right, windows at the library. Angus has informed the library to move forward in a
Yeah, I'm
little
going to
bit
be
less.
meeting with the librarian next week about them.
Okay, all right. Architectural, that is monies for the fire, if we continue to work on the firehouse.
Yeah, we haven't gotten billed, but it has been sent to an engineer to prepare engineered plans for bidding purposes.
Okay. And the new road at the transfer station will take place in the spring as well.
Yeah.
As will the oil containment transfer take place.
Oil containment, as far as I know, has been ordered.
Oh, it's been ordered, okay. All right, good. All right, it seems logical from time, we should look at the bottom line. If you'll note, we have a working budget where we told the town we would spend $19,076,000. And to date, we have spent $10,247, $10,003, leaving us $8,800. All the stories we have told above, let's make the assumption some of them are high, some of them are low. Seems to me we're doing okay with our expenditures. I have no reason to think anything is wrong, and we will more than come in on budget. Let's take a quick ride through revenues. We will not go as much detail. I'm going to put you up the top, and we will once again comment on. We will celebrate. We budgeted to receive $15,600,000 in revenue, property taxes. To date, we have gotten a little over 12,000. We have collected 78% of that. 87%, leaving us 22. So property taxes are coming in. If you would like to go all the way down to the bottom line, you'll notice that we have a revenue budget of $18 million. So certainly you can see that 85% of our revenues comes in from property taxes. So take a glance at property taxes and arrears. Not everyone pays their taxes. They have an obligation to pay us. We had assumed we were going to get $120,000 of back taxes. To date, we have received $193,300. Some of that would come from houses that we foreclosed on and sold at auction. Same is true with interest. Those people who don't pay their taxes on time must pay interest. And you can see while we budgeted, so far we've got 83. We budgeted 57. So this is good. I don't think this motor vehicle supplement is correct. It says we have received 86. I don't think that's an accurate number. I think we're pretty close to that 120, but I'm not yet sure. Okay. And at the risk of taking this too long, for those who are just joining us, the town issues sewer bonds. All citizens pay in their taxes what is necessary to meet the obligation of interest and principal in sewer bonds. Those who have a sewer that goes past their house are given an assessment, and that assessment has changed over the years. Those of us on Union Street paid $2,000. Angus paid $5,000, something like that. So we've increased. So those folks give us more dollars. It is given to the town, and the town uses those dollars to pay the interest and principal we just looked at. So a bit of background. And you'll see as we go down, there's a couple other spots there too. I'm resistant to stopping at town clerk fees. You can see that she has collected so far 42,000. Some of those are dog license. I got a running thing going here on dog license tonight. And if you go all the way down, you'll see police safety. We've collected 71.6. I thought that was the right number, and we remember we're paid out 51. So there is some revenue generated. Let's look at the bottom line here. Okay. We can stop anywhere on there's stories for each one of those lines. We did not want to take it. We'll get into much more detail in our workshops on all those. But look, remember a moment ago I said we had expenditures of $19 million. We have revenues of $18.3. We told the town that we would go into our surplus to fund about $700,000 of expenditures for this year, which is why you see revenues less than expenditures. I see no reason why we will not live up to that. So. Auditors are in here Thursday, Friday, I guess, if I remember. Hopefully finishing soon. It seems to me they're getting late. I am getting impatient on knowing what is our surplus, how well we did last year, and how much cash we have. So we will get a better answer soon, but we're sort of flying.
We'll have a minimum of 300,000.
All right, folks, that sort of ends the entertainment part of our meeting. I've sent you all a note. It is the expectation. Angus is collecting budget numbers from all of our departments and boards. He is putting it together. He and I will meet sometime in February. And I would, is our schedule, that first week of March, Tuesday, March 7th, we will have something to show you. I'll get something to you ahead of time, but we will begin to pick away at that in March and April and present it to the town.
Here we go.
Seems like we've been here before. All right. All right, folks, hearing no objections, I adjourn the meeting, but we go to this. Can I have someone recommend that we adjourn?
So moved.
So moved,
Second.
second. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.